good afternoon and welcome to today's Kingston Library adult book review. I'm Fran and today the book I'm going to be reviewing is The Green Mile by Stephen King. I'm a big Stephen King fan. I've read lots of his books. However, The Green Mile is one that is not particularly horror based. I think he is very much so put into the pigeonhole of being a horror writer, and while I guess a lot of his horror novels are his most famous, that isn't necessarily everything he does. This is very much more of a mystery fantasy kind of philosophical kind of book. He writes a lot of science fiction and fantasy and crime thrillers as well, and this is probably, I think, my favourite book of his that I've read, maybe along with Misery or It. But before I get into it, it does fit into a few categories for our adult reading challenge. So it fits into number 6, which is a book with a black cover, as my edition of it has a black cover, my very battered old copy. Number 15, which is the librarian recommendation, and number 17, which is a book with a main character who is over 60 years old. I will go into the plot in a little while, but yes, the main character of this is technically over 60 years old as the story takes place. This is not currently available on any of our ebook apps. However, as we are very slowly beginning to reopen the library services, we hope that pretty soon you'll be able to reserve your books again, and hopefully you'll be able to reserve this, or perhaps it will be on the shelf at your local library when we begin to reopen. So I really hope that anyone who watches this review decides to either have a look in your library and see if it's there, or reserve it when you can do so. So you may probably know of this book probably from the film that was made of it. As you can see, I've got the lovely Tom Hanks on the front of my copy, as the famous Tom Hanks movie that was made of this book. The general plot is it's set in the early 30s inside of a penitentiary, and the main characters are this group of guards who are the guards of the death row section of the prison, which is actually called The Green Mile, which is where the book gets its title, because the floors are green. And their job is to sort of keep an eye on all of the most dangerous prisoners who are there awaiting their death by the electric chair. And they have various prisoners there, some of whom are very psychotic and dangerous and frightening, some of whom have learned from their time in prison and who definitely come across as more gentle. However, everything changes when one particular prisoner is brought in, named John Coffey, who is been jailed for supposedly murdering 2 young girls, as he was found with the 2 young girls, but after they had died. And the sort of mystery begins as the main officer, played by Tom Hanks, tries to get to the bottom of that crime and discovers that John Coffey has definitely got more to him that lies on the surface. There's definitely more to him. I don't really want to spoil it and give away too much. It isn't a humongous book, as you can see. You may be put off by the film. The film is about 3 hours long. But I think that's probably because they wanted to wring every last drop of brilliance from this book and make it into the film. So the film is more or less an exact adaptation of the book. So don't be put off by reading it, because it's really not that big. It's not a huge investment. It won't take you too long to read, either from the size or just from the fact that it's so well written. You will just whiz through it. It is such an easy read, so gripping. Stephen King is so good at writing characters that you really root for, whether they are the heroes or the apparent villains. He paints such a vivid picture in your mind, and you almost don't need the movies to exist, because he writes them so vividly that you can just imagine the movie in your head. You can create the movie in your head and you can just follow it along, and you can see it all so clearly. And that's why I think he's such a popular writer, he's still going today. And I think you really need to read this book. Even if you don't like horror, this isn't horror at all. It can be dark at times due to the subject matter, but it is not by any means something that's going to keep you awake at night terrified or anything like that. So yes, I think if you want to get into a Stephen King book but you don't like horror, this is probably the very best one that you could go for. So that is our review for today. Do you like Stephen King? What are your favourite Stephen King books? Let us know in the comments. Have you read The Green Mile or seen the film? What did you think? Please let us know, because I love it so much. I like to have a discussion down below. So let us know, and thank you for watching. Bye.